In this video, we're going to talk about how to take data again and combine it to where we can use it. We've used the VLOOKUP function in the past to do that. However, Excel also has a very useful tool called Power Query that lets us do that as well. So what we want to do is, first of all, we're going to grab our data here, and in Power Query, we need to start loading it into the Power Query module. To do that, if I click on Data, inside of Data, we'll see all of the little icons up here in the top. This is the Power Query section. And what we're going to do first is we're going to take all of the student data, highlight it, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to bring it in from a table. So if I left click here, it says, is this the data? And yes, it is. And we have headers. I click OK. This loads Power Query Editor for me. All right, so the Power Query Editor loads, and then whenever Power Query comes in, first of all, it'll let you go in and it will let you reassign things as a number, the digits that's used there. It lets you move things around. You can double click on this and change the name and everything. But what we want to do is we want to take the information that's with student data and we want to combine it with graduation data, because in student data, here's what I have, and there's more information in the other form that we're going to pull in. So to get this to work for us, we're going to rename it. And what we're going to rename this student data is we'll just name it student data again. Again, all we're doing right now is we're loading it into Power Query so that we can work on it. If you come back over and click on Close and Load, at that point, we have student data that's now in. It loads up my Power Query and says over here on the right hand side, it says, all right, we now have this to work with. And you'll notice that we have student number here. And again, 4 columns worth of information. But if I go over to the graduation data, and we can see now that we actually have a second tab here. This is what this tab in Power Query now has created a new worksheet for us. All right, so let's go over now to graduation data, and we'll see once again we have a person ID. Number looks very similar to the other, but it has on there the year and whether they received a degree and what status they were in that year. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this information because I want to combine it with the other information that we just put in for the student data. Again, in this, I'm going to bring it in. Let's bring it into Power Query. That's the right stuff. Yes, it has headers. Goes to the Power Query Editor. And in the Power Query Editor, I'm going to just type this in once again as graduation. I'm going to close and load. Close and load takes me back to my original worksheet. However, now, once again, I have another tab. At this point, I can take all of my graduation data, as I mentioned, all of this extra information, and I can merge it with my student data, okay, so that I can, find out the year that they were accepted, the gender, whatever else it may be. So I'm going to go here. Now that I have these things set up in my queries, if I double left click on graduation data, it brings me back over to the Power Query Editor, and one of the options that I have is to merge queries. And merging queries says I'm really taking these two different worksheets and I'm going to combine them. So this is my first one. This is the graduation data, and from the drop down, I can pick the other active sheets that I have. The only one is student data. If I want to merge these, it makes sense that I would merge it off of the student ID or the person ID there and the student number here. All right. It also says, what kind of matching do you want to do? Does it need to be exact? Or is fuzzy matching okay, which is something that Excel does to, says, is this close enough? Good thing is for us right now, we can see that 72 out of 72 rows have an exact match. So we're in good shape here. I'm going to click OK. It has now said we have a merged query. And in this merged query, it has all of the information that we had from graduation because we brought it in first. And then it says we have all of this other information, but I don't know how to deal with it yet. And the reason is that instead of just having one column worth of information to bring over, we had a whole table worth of data. So it says table here. If I left click, it says, okay, which of this do you want to bring in? Well, there's no reason for us to bring student number over because we already have student number. But if we wanted everything else from there, we would just leave all of these checked. If we didn't care about year accepted, we could take it off. But I'm going to click OK. And at that point, you will see it brings in all of the other information for each one of the students. Let's go ahead and save this as student enrollment. And we're going to save and load, close and load. All right. Now what we've just done is we've taken two separate worksheets. We've combined those worksheets, and we have everything now in there for us to use in the future with all of the student information because we appended it in here. Remember, we did that with a VLOOKUP in the past. However, now we're using Power Query to bring over all of this, and it's very, very, very useful for us to bring it in that way. Another really good thing that we can do inside of Power Query is we can insert other information. So if we go back to home, let's go to data. Let's go to get data, and when you go to get data, Excel will automatically let you pull in from all sorts of different sources. I'll let you look at this, and you can also see that from the file you can pull in another Excel from CSV, and in this case there's oftentimes bringing in from a PDF is really helpful for us. So we're going to do that this time. Let's bring in from a PDF. You need to, whenever you are working on your sheet, you need to bring in this file as well, and you need to save it in an area that you can get to it, because one of the things that we're interested in is enrollment status. Okay, so I'm bringing in from a PDF called enrollment status. You could open that up, and it's just a table that's in there. However, whenever we click on import, Power Query and Excel working together here says, okay, we have two options. We have this table, which looks good to me, or we have this table. Again, looks very similar to it. And what Excel has done is it's gone through and it has converted this over from a PDF into a table for us. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to load the data. And whenever the data loads in, this is what we have. You can see that it does need a little bit of cleaning up. It has a top row that isn't named correctly. You could try to delete that top row, but since they're also already set on filters, it's probably going to fail on you. So what we're going to do is let's clean this up. Let's double left click on the top. Let's type that in as code. Double left click here. Let's bring that in. Oh, just still didn't take it. Oh. Let's type that in as explanation. And let's just left click, left click. Let me slow down there. What I'm doing is I am going to left click to highlight the row, right click to bring up the box for us to be able to do commands, and I want to delete that row. Okay, so now that's set. What we want to do now is this code is also over on our student data code. Oh, no, sorry. It's on the graduation code in this column here. See the column says status? F really means something to us. And what it means, if I can find it, is full-time. So let's go ahead and highlight this data. Let's bring that into a query. In that query, let's call this I'm looking over at my notes for just a second here. We're going to bring that in as code. We're going to close and load. And now we can go, it's updating here. What we want to do with that code is we want to take our student enrollment data. All right, so if we double left click on student enrollment data, merge queries, bring our code. Now what we're matching on is this and this so that we can bring in what the explanation is. Okay, we've done that. We're going to click OK. Again, it comes in with a table. What we want to do is we don't need the code. We just need the explanation. Click OK. And at this point, we'll see that we have this new explanation on here. However, it's a long way away from the actual code. So let's just go left click and drag this back across to where it's sitting next to that code, to where it's going to make more sense to you as a user in the future. So let's get it back over. There we go. Now F is with full-time and it's set. All right, at this point we can close and load and the data is there. And then the last thing that we want to look at is scholarship data, because we have scholarship that's in here for all the students, the semesters, and the amounts. Suppose that someone says, wait, you know, I like it this way, but if there's a question that would pop up that says, you know, what amount of scholarship is going to women, or what, you know, amount of scholarship is going to men, or what about scholarships being handed out by states? Whenever those things are needed, we would need other student information, once again, like from our student data, where we have their age, their gender, their home state. So if we bring in our scholarship data, again, we don't have it over here yet, but if we bring in our scholarship data, we could then merge this with our student data and be able to identify or answer those questions that we were just talking about. We highlight it, we go to data, we go to the Power Query section, we bring it in from a table or range. Yes, this is the right range. Yes, it has headers. It's going to let us rename it now. And when we rename it, we'll just call it scholarship. Close and load. It's updating. Now let's merge scholarship. Double left clicked on scholarship. So it brings up the Power Query editor. I'm going to merge queries. Again, all of the scholarships are here now. Let's bring in student data. And from student data, we're going to match on the student number from scholarship and the student number from the student data. We're going to click OK. Again, comes in from a table, and it says, what do you want to bring in here? I don't need student number again. I don't really need age, but let's go ahead and bring it in right now anyway, because we may need it in the future. I click OK, and at this point, I have created a new worksheet, a scholarships tab, that we can see all of the extra information for each one of the students, and it brings in all of the extra student data from before. All right, with that said, let's close and load. Last thing that I want to talk about for the queries is that it's possible for things to, somewhere in the future that you may want to update this sheet in some way. And so if you're needing to update the sheet, then it doesn't make sense to have to redo everything all over again. Power Query is set up to where you can have a refresh mode to where you can refresh things as you work through it. Let me show you an example here. If we go to our scholarship data the way that it's set up here now, this has all of the students' numbers. It has the state that they're in. It has their gender. So let's put in a pivot table. All right, I'm going to left click on the tab. I'm going to go up to Insert, Pivot Table. Insert, Pivot Table over here. That was Pivot Chart that I accidentally clicked on. So we're going to do it on scholarship. We want a new worksheet. If I click OK, Pivot Table is a way for us to take data and pull it in into a combined table. So it brings in a wizard for me, and in the wizard, what I'm interested in is I want to know, one, the home state. So I'm going to left click and drag home state down to rows. And you see here are the only states that we have going on. The other one that we're interested in is the gender. So let's find student gender. Left click, drag that to the column. All right, so it now says we have females from each and males from each, grand totals. And then the last information that we need is the amount of the scholarship. So if I left click and bring that into the values field, it says here's the sum of the amount for each one. There's $42,000 worth of scholarships that have been handed out. $22,500 went to males, $19,500 went to females. Really cool way for us to take and start breaking the data out so that it's easier from an analyst standpoint to see what's going on. All right, again, that's putting the pivot table in. Now let's go back over to the scholarship data. And in the scholarship data, let's say that, we have just found that we missed putting in a scholarship for student 20012, and that scholarship was from spring of 2005, and that the amount of that scholarship was $1,000. Okay, the information is in there now. Let's go back to our pivot table. Well, it doesn't seem like things got updated here. Let's go to our scholarship and see if it got added here. Again, it didn't get added here. There is a button up here on the top for our data, and it says inside of our data we can click for Refresh All. And when we click on Refresh All, we'll see that student 2012 did get this added to the query now. So that worked. Now let's go back over and check on our pivot table. Well, this didn't get updated yet. And the reason is that inside of Excel, whenever we have a pivot table, you actually have to not only refresh the data, but then refresh the pivot table. And when you refresh the pivot table, it'll come in. All right. Again, this is a very quick look at Power Query, very important tool for you to be able to use, learning how to take data from one source, bringing in with another source, combining it. So hopefully this helps, and we'll get you through the assignment.